Hi everyone, Hamer here again with another Mission Impossible episode review. This time I'm reviewing Season 2, Episode 7, which is called Operation Heart. So we start out with Jim cruising in his huge convertible to a take-your-own-photo booth for instructions. The mission is to rescue an award-winning archaeologist named Bennett, who is being used as a pawn as part of a plot by Stefan Gomolk, his country's security chief, who plans to kill the country's leader Rurik, and the IMF has to prevent that assassination. So we get the usual team, plus cardiologist Owen Siebert. We get the usual allusions to some of the planned strategies in the apartment scene, including a special square pill for Cinnamon to administer to her husband, Bennett, which will be fatal. We see Gomolk interrogating the ailing Bennett in the hospital, asking him what he knows about Operation Anniversary, which is his assassination plan. Bennett quietly says he knows nothing after being administered with truth serum. A frustrated Gomolk leaves, telling Dr. Levia not to give Bennett a much-needed operation and let him die, to kind of put the whole matter under the rug. He also says that they will need hospital beds tomorrow after his coup goes as planned. Jim, as a magazine reporter, meets with President Rurik at his home, finding that he has complete faith in Gomolk's loyalty. He seems to actually use his real name with Rurik for some reason. Kind of odd. As they leave the presidential palace, snipers Willie and Barney take shots at Rurik, hitting Jim in the shoulder. Rurik whisks him off to the hospital. It's only a flesh wound. At the hospital, Cinnamon arrives as Bennett's wife, along with Dr. Siebert, demanding to see Bennett. Rollin is wheeled in as a cantankerous old man complaining about how he's been disrespected and mistreated, followed by Jim being wheeled in for treatment for his flesh wound. Cinnamon tells Rurik that she's being denied access to Bennett, and Rurik allows her to see him. Jim stays with Cinnamon, saying he wants to get a report about Bennett. As Rurik leaves, Gomolk laments the fact that somebody took a shot at Rurik a day too soon. Dr. Siebert indicates that Bennett is in dire need of open heart surgery, and Cinnamon wants him taken back to the U.S. and demands to see him again. Finally allowed into the room by Gomolk, she tries to administer the square pill to Bennett, but is stopped by Dr. Levia. The doctor shows Gomolk the pill, and they have it analyzed. Turns out it is a stimulant that would have killed Bennett. Barney and Willie are busy preparing some canisters with ticking clocks, which they deliver to the hospital. Meanwhile, in his room, Rollin starts removing his makeup and leaves the room dressed as a doctor, heads to the operating room, and puts a device on the heart monitor, which will allow him to manipulate it. Then brings the specially prepared gas canisters to the operating room and strategically sets them up amongst the others. Jim goes back to meet with Rurik and drops word that Bennett is indeed an American agent, to Rurik's surprise. Cinnamon goes to police headquarters to get Bennett's things, using a device hidden in a pack of cigarettes and running a handkerchief through it. The officer gets a call to detain Cinnamon after discovering that she tried to kill him with that pill. Gomolk interrogates Cinnamon, and it's discovered that the handkerchief Cinnamon tried to take has hidden writing on it, indicating support for Operation Anniversary. Gomolk is incredulous, as he now knows that Bennett is not an agent, but someone is trying to make him look like one. Rurik arrives at the hospital and is shown the handkerchief. Gomolk insists that Bennett is not an agent, but Rurik says he wants to question Bennett himself, so he orders the necessary operation to be done. Gomolk now tells Dr. Levia to make sure it is successful, so that hopefully Rurik will be satisfied and kept in the dark about the coup. The operation begins with Rollin outside the OR door, as Barney and Siebert get prepared. As Bennett is put on the heart-lung machine, Rollin bursts in and says that some of the gas tanks contain hydrogen and not oxygen, and on further examination, ticking is heard. The canisters won't budge, so Rollin leaves to get help in case it's a bomb. Barney, Willie, and Siebert arrive as a bomb squad, and Gomolk arrives also, telling Levia to get Bennett out of the room as he can't risk Bennett dying and raising suspicion about his plot. Rollin uses his device to simulate a fibrillation, making it impossible for Bennett to be taken off the machine. Rurik and Jim arrive as well, with Rurik wondering why Gomolk's security seems to be so inept all of a sudden, and Bennett is increasingly a target. Rurik orders the hospital to be evacuated except for essential personnel, and once that's done, the IMF whips out guns and confronts Levia. Dr. Siebert tells him that Bennett must be removed from the hospital, and it can be done if his temperature is brought down, which would give them 10 minutes or so to move him. Rollin messes with the heart monitor again, making it appear that Bennett is dying and there's nothing that can be done to stop it. The IMF locks the operating personnel away and head out of the hospital with the bombs on a gurney. Gomolk, of course, thinks they're trying to smuggle Bennett out, but when he takes off the blankets, he finds the gas canisters. Of course, Bennett is in the compartment underneath the canisters, and Seabird confirms that Bennett will be okay to get to a waiting nearby plane. Rurik, Gomolk, and Jim head up to the operating room, freeing the OR staff, who find that Bennett is still there, but his heart is failing. Suddenly, Bennett wakes up, asking Stefan about anniversary and asking if Rurik is dead, as he flatlines and dies himself. Rurik orders everyone out of him and points his gun at Gomolk. Stefan protests and says that Bennett isn't an agent, it's all lies, but of course Rurik doesn't believe a word, and shoots Gomolk before taking a slow walk out of the OR. Bennett is, of course, Rollin, who takes off his mask. Rurik says goodbye and thank you to Jim, tells him that Cinnamon is free to go, and Jim offers to share his cab with the cantankerous old man Rollin as they head. I'm going to give this one a grade of C. It could kind of go towards C+. It's got some good points to it. What's good about it, I really like Michael Strong, who plays Gomolk. He's really the focus and the target of this episode, and I've always found him to be a really, really strong guest star. Normally, he plays the kind of the second in command, so sometimes he can be overshadowed, kind of like he was in season 1 in The Trial, when he was kind of the subordinate of Carol O'Connor and really couldn't shine. But here, he does get an opportunity, and I think he's really, really good in this one. There are some good bits in the episode. Rollin as the old man is funny. That was a pretty clever technique for getting him in and out of the hospital. That was neat. And also the scene in the operating room where there is some tension and suspense. That was pretty well done by the IMF and by the producers overall. What I find not good, the plot is, it's kind of ordinary on the one hand. I also find it to be pretty convoluted, I think. It's difficult, even though I've watched this episode before, but to kind of go back and dissect it and watch how the changing motivations of Gomolk happen through this episode. Like in the beginning, he's really interested in keeping this guy alive, and now suddenly he wants him dead, and now suddenly he wants him alive. I mean, you can track it, but you have to think about it. I find, and it can be really, really difficult to follow. So it's kind of like, remember that bit from Jerry Seinfeld about action movies, about, oh, I thought, was he with them? Wasn't he with them? Like when there's so much action happening and sometimes it can be tough to follow along in terms of why is this happening. And as I said, the plot is okay. There's nothing bad about it. Nothing really to write home about, though. So I'm going to stick with my grade of C. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I'll be back again soon with more reviews. We're chugging through season 2, in which we find a bit of a mixed bag of some decent episodes and a lot of ones like this, I feel, which are kind of on the ordinary side. But please like this video, subscribe to my channel. Please leave comments. I really look forward to seeing more and more comments. They're starting to come in now, and I appreciate that. And I'll see you next time.